We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
For arguing with a TSA agent, this woman winds up being slammed to the floor. She's filed a lawsuit.
I kept begging them over and over again, get off of me, get off of me, get off of me, and they wouldn't stop.
And it wasn't enough for another woman to show TSA agents nipple rings that set off a metal detector. The agents forced her to take them out.
I had to get the pliers and pull it apart.
Here in Chicago, we watched as passengers like this man are subjected to exhaustive security checks. He's patted down, his wheelchair is examined, and his hands are swabbed, all in public view in a see-through room at the security checkpoint. And he's not alone.
It's humiliation.
71-year-old Robert Perry was also taken to a room like this by a TSA agent when his artificial knee set off the metal detector.
He yelled at me, "No, get the belt off. I told you to get the belt off." So I took the belt off. He ran his hands down over and pulled the pants down. They went down around my ankles.
At that point, Perry was standing in his underwear in public view. He asked to see a supervisor. That made things worse.
She was yelling, "I have power, I have power, I have power."
The power to stop him from flying to Florida with his wife that day to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary.
Make you feel like you have no rights.
Perry says he always alerts TSA agents about his metal knee and wonders why they can't just check his leg.
If somebody told me that I'm going to save the people on the airplane by taking my pants off out in public on there, I wouldn't mind doing it. But this was not necessary.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded. We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
Let's face it, kids, airports, and security can be a tough mix.
It's a big pain in the butt.
And last month at the airport in Chattanooga, Tennessee, my 3-year-old daughter Mandy went from this happy little girl to this during an ordeal through security. My cell phone has about 17 seconds of this. Here, a TSA employee we've decided not to show is patting down Mandy while my wife holds her. First, they tried a handheld metal detector. Mandy was not in the mood. And the TSA employee, well, in my opinion, did not know how to communicate to her. All of this started after Mandy's teddy bear was taken away for screening through the X-ray. And that started the crying, which meant Mandy had a tough time going through one of those metal detectors. It also meant the alarm went off twice. And TSA officials tell me when that alarm goes off twice, everyone, no matter how old you are, must be hand searched. But did it have to be like this? Is there a better way?
In reality, what we as an agency should be doing, or employees, is looking at that child with a little bit of difference in how we handle the child.
James Marchand with the TSA would not comment specifically on the cell phone video, but he says some TSA screeners should follow some advice.
You try to make it as best you can for that child to come through. You ask the child to put their arms up in some way, and if you can come up with some kind of game that you're trying to play with the child, then it makes it a lot easier.
It's a story so bizarre that it's actually a little hard to believe. A TSA agent under arrest charged with lewd and lascivious molestation of a minor. Police say he tried to keep a girl as a sex slave.
Police arrested 57-year-old Charles Bennett after a 15-year-old reported him to police. Melissa DePani is live at the Orange County Jail with new details on this sex slave story. Melissa.
Yeah, Bennett remains behind bars here at the Orange County Jail. He's being held on no bond. Now, even though the arrest report was heavily edited, we were still able to piece together some disturbing details about Bennett.
According to reports from the Orange County Sheriff's Office and the jail, the 15-year-old victim confided in her caregivers that Bennett had touched her inappropriately 3 years ago when she was 12. He had also asked the young girl to be his, quote, sex slave, an accusation investigators say Bennett admitted to in a written statement to police. He also admitted to grabbing the girl's breasts from behind and solicited her to be his sex partner. We went to Bennett's home in Winter Garden to talk with his wife about the allegations, but she wasn't home. Police are not saying what the relationship is between Bennett and this young girl. But digging deeper, we did find Bennett's MySpace page where he calls himself Master Charles and says he's into submissive females and says he is a master of bondage, dominance, sadism, and masochism. Neighbors who did not want to talk on camera say they are stunned to learn about Bennett's arrest and interests. They tell Fox 35 Bennett is a former Marine gunnery sergeant who retired after 20 years of active service. Some even told us they wrote recommendations so he could get his current TSA job.
And no word on whether or not Bennett will be able to keep his TSA job. Live at the Orange County Jail, Melissa DePani, Fox 35 News at 5.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded. We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded. We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.